GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
I believe it's a big challenge for our building to keep things in perspective and to, if we're going to get addicted to anything, let's get addicted to the process.
And with that, we welcome you to Trust the Podcast, powered by Better Live Than Dead and the new GearNetwork.com. This is episode number 54.
Episode 54, people. And no, I am not doing my best Luis Perez impression here. I am on day 4 of a friggin' cold that just will not go away.
He's got the boob-ons, people. He might not make it to the podcast, but we will see. Stay tuned to find out. It's week 10.
See if I last longer than Adam Gase in Miami.
Week 10, Buffalo Bills at the Cleveland Browns. You can hear us on BetterLiveThanDead.com, GearNetwork.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube. Where you hear a podcast, you can hear this podcast. I'm Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD. Joining me on the IndyCar Media Hotline, John Cimino at I Am JC Money, the sick John Cimino. John, aside from being sick, how you feeling?
Sick, Ryan. That's pretty much how
you couldn't be like, oh, I'm happy it's Thursday. I'm
happy it's Thursday. You know what? I'll be happy when I take NyQuil. And I will tell you that I'm not doing this part for shtick or anything like that, but I am miserable when I am sick, and so don't go anti. Don't act like you do on the Twitter when Josh Allen, when the Buffalo Bills start to slide a little bit during the game, the first 2 minutes of the game. And you start going, oh, that's it, it's done. Don't do that because I might get angry.
No, I did do that though this week because I was in Cleveland, which we'll talk about in just a moment.
But a lot of it you were doing it to troll me.
It is my new shtick now. But just to start off on the same foot here, Buffalo finds themselves exposed, which we'll talk about. In a 19-16 loss to the Cleveland Browns, Buffalo falls to 6-3 on the season. For those who don't follow me on Twitter, first off, what are you doing? Second off, follow me on Twitter at WolfeBLTD. I was in Cleveland this weekend, Saturday morning until Sunday evening. That
should be the first of the 3 big things right there.
Well, it's going to be.
You should tell us about that experience.
It'll be a bonus. It'll be a bonus big thing. It'll be the pre-3 big things big thing. Right. Saturday was great. Cleveland was cold as ice.
You said big thing, and my mind, of course, went there. Hey-o!
Jesus. Sorry. We've already gone down
we're going
that
downhill
path.
Now. It's all downhill from here, pal.
So the Bills backers had a get together at Southern Tier. That was closed down by the amount of Bills fans that were there. They sent them to another bar that was closed down by Bills fans, and they sent them to a third bar, which I believe was also closed down. The bar that I was at, Barrio, which is the best taco place in Cleveland, some of the best tacos I've ever had. That place was jam-packed with Bills fans, which was also absolutely incredible. Anywhere you went in the city, there were Bills fans. There were a lot of Bills fans at the game as well. A disappointing outcome for sure, but the tailgating was fun. Got to see someone jump through a table. A lot of nice Cleveland fans, and it was nice. It made me want to do it again.
It wasn't like somebody that jumped through the table in Tennessee and completely missed the table and like nearly died.
Oh no, this was like we were all walking. There was like a barrage of human beings walking towards the stadium, and then they were like packing up, and the guy's like, "Well, I better jump through this table," and then just jump through the table off of his RV.
That's all right. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he might want to get checked out by a doctor because I'm not sure that was the brightest thing to do. But hey. No. He's a Cleveland Browns fan, so what can you say? But hey, the Browns play tonight. I'm actually interested to watch that game because it's playoff implications, baby.
Oh, you know what I got to do? You just inadvertently reminded me. I have to do my pick'ems for my weekly pick'em with Brandon on Listen In. So
thank you for that.
Thank you for inadvertently reminding me that.
I'm more than happy to help you out. Now, the 3 big things this week are going to be 2 pretty negative things because, like we said, the Bills have been exposed. What we've been talking about for a while now. Now, granted, I know I was at the game and 13 or 14 minutes. I think it was like 1:23, maybe something like that. It was really early. I tweeted out, "Are the Bills bad, or is Josh Allen bad?" And John got upset, but It's easy to jump on the Bills, but when you see the same thing every week, which we'll talk about, you kind of see it coming. And this is really the first of the three big things. This is what we've been talking about. Buffalo has not been playing. They've been playing with fire all season, John. The defense has been strong for the most part. The offense is not pulling its weight, which we'll talk about in the second of the three big things. I want to point the defense out first because credit where credit's due. First off, credit where it's not due. The defense struggled again. Nick Chubb ran 20 times for 116 yards. Seems like Buffalo did not have an answer for him. Kareem Hunt, he looked like in his limited time playing time coming back from being suspended for assaulting a woman. It was disgusting. First off, I know Kareem Hunt's a Cleveland boy and everyone's happy to have him in Cleveland, but to hear him be damn near get a standing ovation after his first play where he touched the ball. That felt pretty disgusting, to be quite honest with you. But the Bills' defense, had what might go down as one of the best sequences of the season. Nick Chubb, rumble, bumble, stumbles down to the 1 yard line. So it's first and goal at the 1 yard line. Defensive pass interference called on Jordan Poyer. So it's because it's at the 1 yard line, the ball doesn't move. It's just first and goal again. So then Nick Chubb runs for negative 1 yard, second and goal. Nick Chubb runs for 1 yard. So they're back at the 1 yard line again. Third and goal. Defensive pass interference on Trey White. So from there, it's now first and goal again, which Nick Chubb then runs for no gain. Second and goal. Baker Mayfield, pass incomplete. Third and goal. Nick Chubb rushed for no gain. And fourth and goal, the cherry on top, Nick Chubb rushes for negative 2 yards, turnover on downs, an 8-play goal line stand by the Buffalo Bills defense. Their defense has not been great outside the red zone, but in the red zone, John, they have been able to shut people down with ease. 8 plays on the goal stand. 8-play goal stand. Thanks, Ryan, for making me do this today. That right there, that's the type of thing that the Buffalo Bills need to work to build around or to kind of gravitate to. And I feel like that could have been the turning point of the game. Like this was a game that they needed to have. They absolutely needed to win this one because it was a very winnable game. And that moment in time right there very much should have been the rallying point. Like all right, we got this. And, the confidence builder and everything, because that's hard to do in the National Football League. Stop a professional football team at the goal line in 8 straight plays. Pretty unheard of there. And so it's kind of sad that what ended up happening throughout the game, and of course the result of the game, sort of takes away from that particular sequence of plays that you don't see very often. Absolutely. It was wild to see them struggle. And speaking of struggling, you look at a player like Levi Wallace, he's faced 63 targets this year. It's tied for fifth most in the league, which that will happen when you have Trey White flanking you. He's allowed 42 receptions, though, which is also tied for fifth most. He has a PFF Pro Football Focus grade of 58.9. Wallace handled Jarvis Landry on Sunday, and Landry finished the day with 9 receptions for 97 yards and a touchdown. Now, Jarvis Landry, good wide receiver, but when that's happening and you're trying to win a game, that's not a good performance of the Buffalo Bills defense. An ugly loss, John, like this was definitely bound to happen. We've talked about it, that they keep, even though they're 6-2 heading into the game, They a 6-2 playoff contending team should easily beat a scuffling 2-6 team that's not good. But we know Cleveland's got a lot of talent. They've struggled against good teams. And also a big thing to point out: Steven Hauschka missed 2 kicks, a 34-yard and a 53-yard. Clearly would have played a big factor. But now that Buffalo finds themselves at 6-3, they need to scratch and claw a little harder if they want to make that push towards the playoffs.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. I have to break down the wall here. I'm kind of doing a little bit of Gear Network multitasking, and perhaps doing this while in the condition that I'm in is not the best idea. But there's an all new Turnbuckle Talk radio podcast going up, and apparently it's the wrong one. So now I have to do that again. So
that's okay. I can keep going.
No, it was sent to me. It was the wrong one sent to me.
Oh
It was
boy,
the wrong one.
oh
It
boy.
was the wrong one submitted to me by the podcaster. So.
It's not your fault then.
No, it's
But-
not my fault.
So John, I guess my
it's
question
irritable.
for you then is I'll instead of having you kind of go back on what I was saying.
Okay.
How bad of a loss was this for the Buffalo Bills, do you think?
I don't think it was a get ready to throw in the towel kind of on the season kind of loss. In the same, I think it was bad enough to where there are causes for concern. The Cleveland Browns on paper are a very, very talented team. But they are one of the most, if not the top of two teams, the other being the Jets, that are probably the most poorly coached teams in the National Football League, with Freddie Kitchens, first-year head coach, completely out of his element as a head coach. That I think is pretty much everybody sees that. These are the type of games that Buffalo needs to win. These are the type of games that Buffalo needs to come out strong and then start going a little lax as the game progresses. If you have a nice comfortable lead, this was a very, very winnable game for Buffalo, and now at 6-3, it makes it. And I see that you have the playoff positioning and all that stuff down there on the bottom of this, so I won't go too deep into that. But I mean, when you have a team like Pittsburgh that's actually surging and actually playing pretty well now, despite the injuries, the Roethlisberger and all that stuff. I mean, the defense is playing well there. They're making a run. I mean, if they win a couple more games, they would now be, especially they win tonight, they're 6-4. That's a game behind Buffalo for the loss. It's a game behind Buffalo for the loss. And so it's games like these that they can't afford to slip up on. Like you can't lose to the 2-6 Browns, or you can't lose to the Jets, or you can't lose to the Dolphins. They expect you to lose to the Patriots and whatever, but you can't lose to teams like these. And when you do, and you see teams like Pittsburgh with a solid head coach in Mike Tomlin, borderline, if not a Hall of Fame head coach in Mike Tomlin, you've got, now you're going to be looking over your shoulder a little bit more. And again, this was a very winnable game for Buffalo, and they did not do that. And, the cause for concern is when push comes to shove with playoff implications on the line. I know they just got that Saturday triple header game with New England in December. I mean, if the playoffs their playoff lives are on the line, or when push comes to shove and they need to get a win, are they going to be able to do that? I can't comfortably say that they can, because they lost this easily winnable game to a lesser team. Cleveland is a lesser team.
Absolutely, and when you look at it too, it's difficult to watch, because we've talked about it before. That, and this brings us to our second of the 3 big points. The offense is officially, in my humble opinion, a red flag. Now, if your attention was not on the struggling offense, it should be focused there now. Right now, Buffalo is scoring 16.2 offensive points per game. Per The Athletic's Mike Sando, quote, 16 teams over the previous 5 seasons averaged between 18.5 and 19.5 points per game. The 2015 Denver Broncos, led by Von Miller and a stacked defense, won a Super Bowl from that group. The 2014 Detroit Lions and 2016 Broncos had winning records overall, but 16 teams averaged 6 victories over a full season. The Bills have already matched that victory total. So again, looking out further, zooming out to include the 2018 season, Buffalo has failed to exceed 14 points, a league high, 13 times in 25 games. The Bills have scored more than 24 points in just 5 games over that span, tied with the Dolphins for 29th, ahead of only Washington and Denver, who have done it twice. So I've got more stats too, don't get me wrong, but that's just the first stat right there, is that teams who score as little as the Buffalo...
That particular stat to me doesn't matter to me, because if they're winning, they're winning. They could, if they won every game 9-7 or 7-3, or
yeah, but that's the
10-7.
point. That's what I'm trying to point out, is that they've won as many games as they have, scoring as little offensive points as they have, and history shows and statistics show that if they continue to score this little amount of points, there may not be many more wins coming for them.
I could agree. I could agree with that, and I could see your point there. I mean, when you look at the remaining schedule, or at the very least, when we talk about we're not totally skipping ahead, but talking about next week, the elephant in the room, the Miami Dolphins and Fitzpatrick, and now they're 2 wins in a row, and now people are like looking at them and like, okay, well the tank's over. They're actually playing decent now. What the hell, NFL? You're absolutely right. Against a very surging team like the Miami Dolphins, whom, depending on which Fitzpatrick you get, they're gonna either put up 21 points at minimum, or they're gonna put up 3 points. But either way, these are the things that absolutely I would agree with.
And looking a little further, John, Tim Graham of The Athletic points out, quote, against the NFL's weakest strength of schedule, the Buffalo Bills are averaging in total offensive and defensively 19.3 points per game. Since 2000, only 7 teams, none in the last decade, have collected double-digit wins while scoring so few points. All went to the playoffs, but were a combined 1-7 in the playoffs. In that same span, 11 teams averaged so few points while managing to outscore their opponents for the season. 4 of those teams did not even qualify for the playoffs. So again, it's getting to the point now with the Bills offense where they're almost becoming like a statistical anomaly, where they're winning so much but scoring so little that it's almost like they have to smother the other team into not scoring because they themselves can't score. And
that puts pressure on it puts a little more pressure on the defense, which we all can see there, and we could all argue that maybe 4 or 5 of the 6 wins that the Bills have come largely because of the defense. And you don't want to keep giving the defense that pressure or relying on the defense for that. You don't want to support them in some way, shape, or form, because as the season wears on, it's going to deteriorate. They're going to be cracks in the defense. They're going to get tired from carrying the team so much. It's not like they're the 85 Bears. They're the 19 Bills. So yeah, I mean, this is they're in a very interesting position right now, Ryan. It could really go either way.
For sure. I would say precarious for sure.
Yes.
Now, what couple more stats I want to point out here. Buffalo Rumblings, Matt Warren, a good writer over there. He says, quote, under McDermott and general manager Brandon Beane, that's 23 games, including the Browns game. That's 23 games with less than 3 touchdowns of scoring out of 36 games played, a rate of 54.8%. In 294 games this season, teams have scored more than 20 points 172 times. The league rate for teams scoring fewer than 3 touchdowns is 41.5%, a stark contrast to the aforementioned 54.8% by the Buffalo Bills. So they are statistically worse than average in the league when it comes to scoring, as we see here, as my cat's chewing on a bag in front of me for some reason. Looking at the game, though, John, inexplicably, honestly, after the performance against Washington, running back Devin Singletary only touched the ball 11 times. That was 8 rushes and 3 catches on 41 snaps played total.
I don't get that at all.
Cleveland, John, came into the game ranked 30th in run defense, and he ran the ball 8 times.
Yeah, I can't really understand that mindset at all, and I think that might just be a classic case of McDermott trying to Andy Reid his way into
the kind of galaxy brain
into a victory. You know what I mean? Like he's clearly a difference maker, Devin Singletary is, and you saw it every game that he's been in, whether it's week 1 against the Jets, whether it's last week against Washington. He makes a difference. He is a completely different dynamic on that field. So to not give him the ball, and instead rely on whatever the hell game plan you relied on. I mean, that's on the coaching. Again, we expect poor coaching out of Freddie Kitchens. I would like to say that we are growing to not expect poor coaching out of the Buffalo Bills at this time. But that was a classic case of coaching gone horribly wrong. Now,
you mentioned that they're pushing the offense through Josh Allen. That's clear. But we know that Josh Allen is limited in his capabilities with the offense, and there does not seem to be any adjustments coming. I'm struggling to talk today. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, who are you talking to?
Well, my cat is over here just chewing on fucking everything and knocking shit off my desk, and I'm getting really pissed off.
Well, cats like bags, man.
Well, no, she's chewing on envelopes and she's chewing on. Now she's rolling around on. Now she's rolling around on paper and making obnoxiously loud noises with the paper. Like
this
what?
We should name this "Trust the Pod Cat." Heyo.
I agree with that one.
All right.
So Josh Allen, credit where it's due, threw for 266 yards, a career high on Sunday in Cleveland. But this season, pointed out by the Athletics' Matt Fairburn in the aforementioned article we talked about, he's 0 for 16 on passes that travel at least 30 yards in the air. He has a 36.4 passer rating on passes that travel 20-plus yards in the air. So he's gotten better at the short and intermediate passes, but the 20-plus, 30-plus yard passes, not good. He had another one on Sunday where he had a guy wide open and overthrew him. Also, Allen appears to be in ultra-conservative mode for some reason when throwing the football. He has not thrown an interception in 131 consecutive attempts. That's great, but he's tied for second with Gardner Minshew with 11 fumbles this season. Only Giants quarterback Daniel Jones with 13 has more. Now, John, does there appear to be a trust factor issue between head coach and the offensive coordinator and Josh Allen? Because it clearly seems like they are dumbing down the offense to the point where it's really just kind of sputtered at this point.
Well, I don't know that that's the case, really. I just think it's just poor coaching decision making. I mean, if you're going to have Josh Allen go super conservative, then give the ball to Devin Singletary and let him do his thing. And in this case, they did not do that. They did not accentuate the positives with Singletary and hide the negatives, which is Josh Allen overthrowing the ball or whatever. If you want him to be super conservative, then you got to go run and gun. You know what I mean? I hate to say the Rex Ryan ball where it's, we want to be a good running football team or whatever. But you know what? If you want your quarterback to play like that, and you know that your quarterback can't be the offensive difference maker just yet, then you need to supplement his inabilities with the abilities of Devin Singletary, and they did not do that. So I think in this case with the Cleveland Browns, it was just a piss poor coaching performance from both the OC and the HC, and it kind of screws over QB1, but I think it's a little bit of everything. I don't think it's a complete trust issue just yet, though.
I mean, it certainly, there seem to be some cracks in the foundation for sure, but that can be smoothed over. We all know winning changes everything, but it certainly seems like I don't understand why they try to fit the square peg in a round hole. If you know Josh Allen's having trouble throwing deep, then don't throw deep or practice it more. Figure out what the problem is and go from there. Because it seems
incorporate something that does work
for sure
in the game, and that's what they did not do. That's the point I'm trying to get back to here.
Incorporate Devin Singletary, incorporate more Cole Beasley, incorporate more John Brown. Find a way to make
Frank
the offense
Gore,
exactly. Find a way to make Josh Allen comfortable, because it really seems like to me, and this was something that was brought up, I can't remember who mentioned it, but it seems almost like it comes with the ultra conservative point. What if Josh Allen is just overthrowing passes? Because last year he didn't struggle. We saw him make some beautiful deep passes to Robert Foster last season. But what if Josh Allen is almost too afraid to make a mistake, so he'll put the ball where no one can get it, and maybe a blind squirrel finds a nut every so often, and maybe he'll complete one of those passes. But what if he's just being ultra conservative and going, you know what? If my guy can't get it, no guy can get it. These are the questions we don't know.
I don't know. I think it's just, again, part of the growing pains of a second-year quarterback. As a Jets fan, I'm seeing that with Sam Darnold too, because there are games like, quite frankly, this past game with the New York Giants where Darnold shows signs of brilliance and poise and accuracy and smarts and things like that. And then there are other games where he looks like he's completely lost and quote unquote seeing ghosts. You're gonna get this turbulence in year two. I mean, it's erratic year one. You kind of get turbulence and start to get a little better in year two. And then year three, that's when you're like, okay, well, what has he learned from the past 2 years? What is he doing now? So in terms of Josh Allen, I feel like I've seen massive improvements since then, since from year one to year two. Again, I don't know. I'm going to go back to the whole coaching thing because the coaching doesn't seem to be very consistent from game to game. And I know it shouldn't be consistent, but there should be at least a little bit of consistency.
Yeah, I don't get why one game they'll run the ball 30 times and the next game they'll throw the ball 40 times. You know?
Well, right. That's the thing. And it seems that they stick to their game plan and they don't make the Belichick like adjustments on the fly where, okay, this isn't working. Clearly, we're not, Josh Allen is throwing, 30-yard bombs to nobody and whatever. Okay, let's scale back, go to the running play. Okay, now they stopped the run. Okay, let's go to the slant and the dink and dunk passes and things like that. And, it just doesn't seem like the Bills adjust on the fly enough. And they certainly didn't appear to do that this game.
I agree with that one wholeheartedly. I'm looking right now at at some statistics here just to kind of see. I know the first quarter that Cleveland really did control the pace of play. They had the ball for most of the first quarter. Just looking right now to see if I can figure out. I probably should have done some for the podcast. I apologize on that one. I just want to see. I want to look at their drive summaries here so I can kind of get a better idea. I guess this website doesn't have it.
Okay,
Whatever.
well,
You figure the Buffalo Bills website would have it.
I was going to say, while you go search for that, I can put over, shopgear.com.
Hell yeah.
We can't type it out we can't put it out to print, but we can certainly verbalize it. Shopgere.com. If you shop Amazon, if you type in that little link into your browser, that will take you right to your Amazon account, and it has our Gear Network code embedded in it. And we get a small percentage of your purchases as commission, as a little bit of a thank you for your referral. So it's a way to support this podcast and this network. If you do Amazon shopping for the holiday season, please consider using any of the banners on gearnetwork.com or shopgere.com. Takes you directly there. Okay, I'm done with my senseless shilling there.
That worked out well. That worked out very well. So I'm looking here right now. Let's see. Buffalo had turnover on downs. This is a Buffalo drive. The Buffalo Bills drive chart for the game. First quarter, 4 plays, 1:37, turnover on downs. Second drive, 3 plays, and ending up at a punt, 1:34. Then they had a 9-play, 76-yard touchdown drive. It lasted 4:39. 11-play, 58-yard drive, 3:19, ended in a missed field goal. Excuse me. Then they had a punt, a 7-play punt, a 3-play punt, 7-play turnover on downs, 5-play punt, 7 plays touchdown, 8-play missed field goal, and that's the end of the game. So when the Bills it doesn't seem like they have any consistency offensively, as we've talked about multiple weeks ad nauseum. It feels like a broken freaking record here. But honestly, John, we know this before we move on to talking about Frank Gore. We know this one thing for sure. If the Buffalo Bills want to make the playoffs, they need more consistency offensively.
I'm sorry. Repeat that, Ryan. You broke up a little bit on me there.
That's okay.
Technology fail here.
That's okay. If the Buffalo Bills want to make a push towards the playoffs like they have been, they need more offensive consistency.
Oh, absolutely. They need more offensive consistency. They need to learn how to adjust on the fly. And that's what the smarter coaches in the NFL do and have done historically. And I'm not saying that McDermott is not a smart coach, because he at times he does appear to be. He's certainly got the Jason Garrett clapping thing going for him. But, at this point in the season is very uncharted waters for the Buffalo Bills and their fans. So you got to learn how to call the proverbial audible and change the game plan on the fly when what you're doing, what you're bringing to the table does not work. And again, not to regurgitate my point of this past game where they didn't give Singletary the ball enough and they relied too much on Josh Allen. Josh Allen, you can't rely on Josh Allen right now to be your offense. You want him to be at that level, but he's not going to be at that level, having missed some games in week 1, and being a year 2 quarterback. He was not a polished like Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning kind of quarterback coming out of college. It's Josh Allen. There were question marks in the beginning, so this is to be expected of him. and his progression is probably, if you were looking at his character on Madden, might be slow or normal progression right now, and not necessarily superstar, fast or superstar progression. Getting a little video game nerd talk there.
Is Adam Gase still the coach of the Dolphins in Madden?
Is he still? Well, I'm on season number 22 of Madden NFL 18, and Adam Gase has long been removed from that game. But
oh boy,
no, he would be the coach of the Dolphins if we were to play a regular game on there. Yes, but
hey, I've got a stat for you before we move over to Frank Gore and talk about the Gore Watch, which has kind of been ice cold recently. But I digress. Not so hot, John. Get this. Tight end Lee Smith for the Buffalo Bills took 2 more penalties on Sunday, pushing his total to 9 penalties on the season. That's tied for third most among players in all of football. I'm talking offensive linemen, defensive linemen, skilled players, third most in the league. 5 false starts, 4 offensive holdings called against him. No offensive skill player, we're talking running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, have more penalties than him. And get this, he's only played a little over 40% of the offensive snaps a game this season, and he has the most penalties among offensive skill position players in the league.
Yikes.
How is he still playing?
Well, I mean, it's the NFL,
Also, he can't catch – he can block like a mofo, but he can't catch a freaking cold,
Yeah, well, I caught plenty of a cold for him, so,
yeah.
That's –
Too soon. I apologize. Too soon.
Yeah. Thanks. Shut up, Ryan.
Anyways, Gore Watch. We're going to run real quick so we can talk about the playoffs. Frank Gore rolled into Week 9, ranked 4th all-time in NFL history with 15,185 rushing yards. Barry Sanders ranked 3rd all-time still. He didn't get any rushing yards last week. 15,269 rushing yards in his career. Gore, 84 yards behind Sanders heading into Week 9. Week 10, Frank Gore had 5 rushes for 12 yards. After Week 10, Gore now has 15,197 career rushing yards. That choo-choo train chugs along. Heading into Week 11, Gore is 72 yards behind Barry Sanders for 3rd all-time in NFL history. Also, Gore is 34 rushing attempts behind Curtis Martin for 3rd most all-time in league history.
Curtis, my favorite Martin. I don't know if he'll actually get there, but I mean, he might if he plays another 10 years, because he's probably going to. I mean, he's probably going to dominate and own number 1 by at least at the rate he's going, about 180 yards.
Maybe 45 years old.
Yeah.
Our look ahead brought to you by
Speaking of 45 years old, not necessarily talking about Buffalo Bills, but it is loosely related. Apparently, Tom Brady wants to play now until 46 or 47 now.
That's cute. That's real cute.
Yeah, I think I just think he's trolling people. I think he's done after this year, honestly.
I agree with you on that one. Looking ahead brought to you by 26 Shirts. First off, 26shirts.com, facebook.com/26 shirts, at 26 shirts on Twitter and Instagram. Check out for the latest and greatest in t-shirt designs, who they're helping out, and what they've been doing. Dell, hopefully we'll talk to you soon, my man. But as always, we appreciate you, 26 Shirts. Thanks for supporting the podcast. And real quick, I wanted to mention too, John, because I missed this. You mentioned, I looked it up to verify. The Week 16 game, the Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots, has been flexed to Saturday, the 21st of December at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the NFL Network. I presume it will be played locally on television, so you should not have to worry about that one. But again, the Week 16 game, New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills in New England. It's now Saturday, December 21st at 4:30 p.m. And if the Buffalo Bills continue to stay in the playoff race, you got to think, John, there's really a really good potential that if the Bills and Steelers are really good, or the Baltimore Ravens and Bills are high up, that there's a potential any of those games could get flexed too, which is great.
Yes, that is great. And I don't know. I'm kind of looking at the playoff outlook here right now, just kind of reading as you're talking, and I feel like this percentage is steadily going down.
It is. After 9 weeks, the Buffalo Bills currently sit with the 5th seed in the AFC, according to 538. Last week, it was 69%. This week, 55% chance of making the playoffs, according to 538.com. That was. Right now, John, the AFC heading into Thursday Night Football, 1 through 6, New England, Baltimore, Houston, Kansas City, Buffalo, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the season ended today, which we know it does not, Buffalo would head to Kansas City to take on future Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes for a wildcard weekend matchup. My cat is losing her goddamn mind, She's running in and out of the room and running over this piece of paper. I don't get what the deal is, but
boy,
Buffalo,
you're starting to sound like me with the swears there. Easy there, Ryan.
Buffalo holds a 1-game lead over the 6th seed Pittsburgh Steelers, who are at 5-4. They play Thursday night against the Cleveland Browns. Oakland and Indianapolis also at 5-4. Buffalo holds a 2-game lead over the 9th place Tennessee Titans, who are 5-5 and looking damn good with Ryan Tannehill under center.
Yeah,
so John,
imagine that. Ryan Tannehill, watch him become a Hall of Fame quarterback, and watch him become a Hall of Fame quarterback, and Adam Gase get a 70-year extension with the New York Jets because they were like, oh, well, he made Ryan Tannehill into a Hall of Fame cornerback. Yeah, for a different team. Stupid New York Jets. Sorry, now I'm getting angry.
I was going to ask you if you would give me your thoughts on the playoff picture, but after that one, I'm not really sure. I want to know what else you have to say.
I don't know. The playoff picture, I feel right now, despite the 55% chance that you have there, I feel like the Buffalo Bills still control their own destiny at this point in time. However, they cannot let winnable games escape them like they did with Cleveland. So this is on McDermott and this is on the rest of the coaching staff to again, they're the experts. They're the ones getting paid for the big bucks, not me. But anybody, Stevie Wonder could have seen that, they needed to change the plays and they needed to change the schemes and they needed to go back to the drawing board during halftime. And they just did not do that. They need to do that, and they need to act with a sense of urgency because, these teams are creeping up on them. You can't sleep on these Titans now all of a sudden. And Pittsburgh is, being coached up very well. I would argue, if Pittsburgh makes the playoffs, I would argue Mike Tomlin as the coach of the year.
He has done an incredible job. And you bring up a good point. There are winnable games. The Buffalo Bills need to find a way to win those games. This week 11 against the Miami Dolphins in Miami, another very winnable game, despite the fact, John, that the Miami Dolphins are arguably the hottest team in the National Football League right now. 2-game win streak after defeating the Jets and Colts. I didn't edit the stats here. It says 4-game losing streak, but that was from the Browns. 2-6, hottest team in the NFL on their 2-game win streak. And look I don't care how much tongue-in-cheek action we have here making fun of the Miami Dolphins for being bad and potentially ruining the fact that they might not be able to draft Tua. We look at it and we think to ourselves, if the Buffalo Bills don't win this game, holy crap.
Yeah, if they do not win this game, then at that point I would be like, all right, now we really need to. Now they don't necessarily control their own destiny at this point, and now they really need to panic because you still have New England. You have, and I don't necessarily want to put the Jets out there as a team that they need to watch out for, but stranger and stupider things have happened.
Absolutely. Look, if there's a Week 17 game where the Buffalo Bills have to win and they're in, and the Jets know that they can kick their division rival out of the playoffs by beating them, right? That's all the motivation you need.
Right. And I don't think it would be a classic case of. Now, I will say if it turned out to be a case like the Brett Favre year of the New York Jets, where it turned out that if the Jets won, the Patriots would win the division again, or if they lost, the Miami Dolphins would win the division, and the Patriots were out of the playoffs, and the Jets laid an egg. And let the Dolphins win. I think if it were a situation like that, I could see the Jets laying an egg and letting Buffalo win the division, so New England would be out because that's the bigger picture there. I don't see that that's gonna happen this year. So
that fantasy might not play out.
Yeah, no. So the Bills need to really kind of come out guns a-blazing and be prepared to be adjust on the fly because the teams now are paying attention to Buffalo. They see that they have a winning record, and if Cleveland has taught the league anything, it's that the Bills are a very, very vulnerable and okay coached team, not excellently coached team.
So going into the game this weekend, I guess the Buffalo Bills just have to do their job. And we've seen Sean McDermott get burned a little this week on questions, and he seems a little pissed off. And maybe that'll we I don't even say maybe. I really hope that we see that on the field this week, whether it is coming out and and they run the ball with purpose, or they unleash Josh Allen and kind of let him do his thing. Don't be afraid to lose. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that seems like the problem right now. They seem to be afraid to take a shot and get picked off, or they seem to be afraid to think outside the box a little. Outside the box a little, and it's just
in his defense, in his defense, he's kind of been getting crapped on all year. Like every win that they have, oh well, it's always a yeah, but oh well, it's against this team. Oh well, it's against this team. Oh well, they had an easy schedule. Oh well, it was this. Oh well, it was this. Like I get sick of hearing it too. So then when they lose, it's like, oh well, how could you lose to the Cleveland Browns? My natural instinct would look at him and be like, shut the hell up, How could I lose to the Cleveland? Shut up, It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're McDermott and the Bills this year, it seems, because if they win, people criticize the win as, oh well, yeah, it might have been a win, but you played the New York Jets, and oh well, you played the Miami Dolphins, and oh well, and then you lose, and it's like, well, how could you lose to the Browns?
I mean, if
I could understand why he'd be pissed.
If anything, that loss to the Browns really puts pressure. Those other games, in the Baltimore game, in the Pittsburgh game, in the Dallas game, it's just more pressure there, essentially.
It does, yes. And I'm not excusing that. I'm not saying that they should not have, or they absolutely should have won this game. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have, because the Cleveland Browns are a poorly coached NFL team. They have a plethora of talent on there.
Their head coach, we've talked about this, their head coach should not be a head coach.
Exactly. They should have won this game. There is no excuse for them not doing it, but it boils down to the fact that the Bills were coached poorer than the Browns were this game. That's what it boils down to.
You ready for this?
Go ahead.
Breaking news, not football, but breaking news for the third time in his career. Mike Trout named AL MVP.
Wow, really?
The 11th player in history to win 3 MVP awards. The 7th time in his career he has finished top 2 in voting. He may be by far the greatest baseball player of our lifetime.
And he's still so young. And we were talking about this off the air, but I'll say it on the air because why not? This guy. I feel like it would be a much, much greater deal if he were in a bigger market than Anaheim. I know that the Angels say they're Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim or whatever, but it's not like it's the Dodgers. You know what I mean? It's not like it's a dedicated LA market. It's Anaheim, California. If he had the New York or he had the Boston on him or whatever, this would be a much bigger deal than it is right now. And I think it's a shame.
I absolutely agree with you on that one. I think Mike Trout might end up being like, I know we hate to sit here and say, oh, we think that he's going to be, you hate to compare him, but I think, this might be the Mickey Mantle of our day with just, aside from the alcoholism in womanizing, I would presume, but I know we're kind of straying off of the Bills because, the Bills played poorly and Mike Trout is really good, but, It's fun. It brings me back to the Bills thing. It's fun to watch good players be really good at their sport, and we don't have that with the Buffalo Bills right now.
Oh no, we don't. In fact, we have one not so not really passionate Bills fan that's crying in the background. I don't know if you can hear my 5-year-old Emma crying like Bills fans did on Twitter. And oh man, that means I got to put her to bed. So
that's okay. Well, hey,
put this podcast to bed.
I was going to say that's the Sabres are playing here in a few minutes. I'm going to go make some dinner. John, I appreciate you and your sick ass joining me on a podcast today.
Yes, thank you for having me as always, and I will try better next time. Hopefully, I will be in a much clearer head. And Brian, by the way, did you hear that the Miami Dolphins fired Adam Gase?
Yeah, that's breaking news. That is
crazy, man.
Heartbreaking stuff.
I'm just fucking with you, Lewis.
Well, that being said, John,
I have a cold, but I ain't that bad, man.
John is I am JC Money. I am at Wolfe BLTD. We are Trust the Podcast.
You're not.
We'll talk to you sometime very soon.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.